Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Tunji as well, who is the co-founder at Awaba. He's an economist, a financial advocate for inclusion, and also a creative entrepreneur. He has spent years doing research on financial literacy, and so today he'll be sharing from his wealth of knowledge. Thank you, Tunji, for honoring us with your presence.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. This will be like a 40-minute discussion, and then we'll open it up to the audience. But before we start, let me just have a seat. Can any of you tell us about, your biggest money mistake as a young adult? What is like the most cringiest financial decision that you've ever made?
Okay, so this was when cryptocurrency first came out. I thought it was complicated and like really hard. So I had this then friend, now acquaintance, that told me about how, he was going to invest in cryptocurrency and all of that. And I gave him quite some money to be able to do that, and then he changed it on me, right? So all of a sudden, he just started ghosting and flicked, and I literally lost that money. Now, the thing was, if that money was even invested, and I could just see the trip, because that was when Bitcoin was relatively cheap, but the investment was just never made. Now, imagine some time after I realized that, oh my gosh, I could have just downloaded the app, signed up myself and bought it and just done it my own self. So that was a lesson, yeah. Fantastic, and nothing is too complicated for you to learn.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so Tunji, how about you? Your cringiest financial decision or money mistake that you've made?
So it was back in school before the 07, 08 global crash. We had just been introduced to stocks and bonds, and that was the time in Lagos. I'm not sure everybody here knows this particular time. There was an IPO every other day. First Bank did their IPO. All the banks.
What is an IPO?
Initial
for our
public
audience.
offering. So it's a time that a company comes to the stock market to list on the stock market. So they have an offering. They set the price of the shares and say, okay, everybody come in at this share. So the general idea with the IPO is that if you come in at a certain level, it is meant to go up. So it's like, oh, come in at this discount, you will soon go back to this. So every day you would go into the stockbroking firm. At today, you hear that Toso Bank is 43 naira. You go back tomorrow, it is 57 naira. You are like, ah. So basically, I was just putting all my allowances. I was, starving myself. So it was like, if this money continues to appreciate like this, and that was the first time I probably did compound interest in my head. So I was like, by the time I am 30, I should have made it. And then the market just crashed. I came into some shares at relatively very high. I can remember Transcore. I came in at about 8 naira. By the time I was able to sell my Transcore, it was like maybe 2 naira something. I think I should have just left the money there, but I was just too angry. I just wanted to sell everything. And since then, I never allow anybody to tell me about you can't. So the crypto thing, it never moved me. I was just looking, I was like, I am here, you are there. I will not put my money.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because I think what that just also says is that when you're investing money, you should only invest money that, first of all, you can actually afford to lose, and also invest for the long term, because if he was investing for like the next 10 years, that momentary dip in the market would not have cost you to, to pull out, all your funds, right? So I guess that's the first lesson for us today. Okay, great. So back to the session, right? So again, we're here to talk about financial independence. And I'd like to start with asking, what does that concept mean to you? Because I feel like it's vague, right? People ask me, oh, how much, how do I know that I'm now independent? How how much money is what is the value, right? So what does it mean to you? How do you think about, about it?
I really love this question. Financial independence is very subjective, but if you want to bring it down to numbers, let's do it. Basically, think about the amount of money that you would need that you do not have to work again. And what that money is for A would differ for B. But for the purpose of simplicity, in terms of expenses, how much is your regular expense or that you aspire for? So if as of today, your total expense is about 100,000 naira, and you know that it's very tight, that if God answers your prayer, your desired expenses, let's say 300,000 naira will cover it, right? That's the number we're looking for. Now, what do? We multiply that number by 12, and we multiply that number by what? 25, and we're looking at a figure. I personally will not use the naira because the way the naira depreciates is totally different compared to the rest of the world, right? I'm currently in my 30s. By the time I retire, the naira to the dollar depreciation could be 5,000 naira to the dollar. I do not mean Nigeria ill, but it's really just what it is. It could be 10,000 naira to the dollar. I've not even sat down to actually do some, rough analysis and to project to what it could be when I retire, but it's something for everyone to start thinking about. Now, let's bring it back home. Let's assume that that number is 300,000 naira. What is the exchange rate in the markets? It's about 750. I'm talking about the black market because exchange rate really is, if I were to go into the market, what can I get it at? 750, even though I know that there are other rates. You have the official, you have the I&E and others. But if Oluwatosin was to go into the market now to get it, she'll most likely pay 750 for it. Stay with me. 300,000 naira divided by 750 is what? $400. Is anybody agreeing with him? Is his math right? Is it $400? Fantastic. So that math is right. So now, I'm assuming that my expense for a month is $400 that I would like, right? Now, I'm going to take that $400, I'm going to multiply it by 12. That's going to give me what? It's going to give me probably about 4,800. Are we together? Sorry, 4,800. Are we together? Now, anybody that has a calculator, you might want to help me. 4,800 multiplied by 25 is what? $120,000. And that's because I'm not like really, really thinking big. I'm just using it for the purpose of this analysis that we're keeping it cool. But if you're speaking to the average American that is, they're paying mortgages, they're putting children in private schools, they're most likely talking about $4,000. If you use $4,000 to do the same calculation we just did, you're looking at a $1.2 million towards retirement. So you see how that number changes for everybody, right? So you're just thinking, what's my current expense? What's my aspiring expense per month? Change it to dollars, multiply it by 12, multiply it by 25. So when you're hitting retirement, you're looking at that number. So it changes for everyone. Sorry, I'm going to throw it back to you. Also remember, people want different things. Somebody here could just want a really nice house, somewhere that is quiet in Nigeria, maybe not in a buzzy area. They want to send their children to good schools. They want to be able to eat good food, and they're happy. Another person wants to stay in a loft in Ikoyi, travel at least once in every 2 months, wear the baddest outfits, have the nicest gadgets, and retire maybe in New York or something. The amounts for these two people, will it be the same thing? No. So success of financial independence is it's like an underwear. It's very personal. You just have to define, what those numbers mean to you.
So much. That's super insightful and super detailed. Tunji?
So my journey started from a small realization that not all your aspirations do come true. When you're at a certain age, you have big dreams, you want to rule the world, and after getting a lot of breakfast, not from the other gender, but from life itself, you kind of moderate your expectations. And I think one of the key questions for me was I was able to ask myself simply, what do I want to see on the day I die? I mean, on that day, let's imagine that I'm able to control my death, right? How would I want it to be? How would I want to go out? And the clear example for me is I wanted to be around my family. Everybody really excited about it, and I just pass on in the middle of that. Now, what was important to that dream? It didn't have skyscrapers in it. It didn't have a Bugatti in it. Now, I wouldn't mind if you give me a Bugatti, but it's not important to my aspirations, right? So that moderates everything. And it moderates what I know I would need as independence. So for me, I would not need a house, a loft in Ikoyi. I would more like, if I could live where I want to, I would rather go to a very remote place, live off the land, farm, fish, in my own farm, and eat from what I produce. Now, to be able to sustain that without having to work actively is the money I'm looking for. But it doesn't require a skyscraper. It doesn't require a private jet. It doesn't require me going to Cancun. You get? So for me, it's completely different. So ultimately, on a regular basis, my considerations are always family-oriented, so I want my children to have the very best. So what money is for me is around that conversation. So when you want to offer me a job, for instance, I am calculating how many times can I pay my son's school fees from this? How many times can I pay my daughter's school fees from this? It has nothing to do with anything else, so you get. So I think for me, financial independence comes from that first acceptance of where you're going and who you are, and then you start to, project it on the world on how you, go after money and, what money must be for you at every point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, thank you. Clapping, guys. Yeah, I mean, so I think that's very interesting because basically you've kind of said it's not really tied to money. It's really about what you value in life, right? So when you think about it, it's like, okay, what are my values in life? And then how much do I need to achieve those things? And then that's kind of like how you come to, to the amount, which, comes back to what you said as well. But then I also wanted to ask, because so when you were saying that, you think about it, in USD, which again is fair because in Nigeria, the naira is always, but so bringing it down to this room, right? Some people here are like in their early 20s, or are even maybe younger, and not everyone here is earning in USD. So when you tell them to, to track their net worth in USD, it seems like they're working backwards because when you convert your 250K today to USD this month, it's smiling. By next month, it's like 300K, to get the same 400, USD. So I guess my question is, what is your advice to people here who are living in Nigeria, who have this, we all face the same macroeconomic issues, but we have to think and work smarter to be able to beat the rat race, in a sense. So what would you advise people here today who want to, start their journey towards financial independence, and tracking it in USD? What can they do today that are smart money, moves, to help them meet that goal eventually?
All right, thank you so much for that question. This is a very, money is a very sensitive thing, right? Because if we're being honest, a lot of things come into play. Let me give you an example. So I studied in Johannesburg. I come from a middle-class family, and I went from 0 salary to having an income. The minute I started earning my salary, it was for me, really. And my parents just stopped giving me pocket money. I never had to send money back home, right? It was never a thing for me. Now, with my other colleagues, my peers that were Caucasians, we used to work in Santon. Santon is like the equivalent of like Ikoyi, right? They already had trust funds, some of them, right? So they were already staying in Ikoyi, like the Santon, and they had trust funds. So I don't have a trust fund, but at the same time, that little money that they're giving me at work, it's mine, right? So I can look at that other person and be like, I don't have a fund. But guess what? There were other South Africans as well that were working with me that were sending money back home, right? So what am I trying to say? It's like a ladder, and everybody is sitting on different parts of that ladder. You might think, oh my gosh, I'm having it bad. Somebody else could be having it better. Somebody else could be having it worse. So where am I going about all of this? I want you to focus on you, right? And that's why I love to say that it's a very personal conversation. It's like an underwear. It fits you. It's what is right for you. It has to be for you. So where do you come from? The market is really crap. Crap is not is an okay word, right? It's not a swear word, yes? Market is really crap. Nigeria has a very high unemployment rate. People are shooting out CVs almost every day trying to find a job. They're not stupid, they're not foolish, but it's really just what it is, right? So I know that you are fighting against a wind or you're fighting against the force. So if you're not getting the results that you want now, does not make you stupid. Now, what can we do? Number one, focus on the things that are within your control, right? So I can't change inflation. I'm not the CBN governor. I don't do there are two things that control it, money, and what do they call, macro and fiscal. I don't sit on those panels. I can't do anything about it. It's what it is. I can't change inflation. I can't change the currency exchange rate. If the naira to the dollar goes to 800 naira tomorrow, I'll write a thread on Twitter. I'll go on Money Africa and rant, but I can't change it. What can Oluwatosin change? Fantastic, and that's what we're going to focus on. I'm looking for skills that are in high demand. We run a tech company. We have an ed tech and we have a fintech. And from our observation, guess who earns the most? Those that are in tech first, then the next high earners are then those that are doing financial stuff. Then you see the list are the ones that, or maybe sales, sales growth. They earn just as much. In short, they could even earn higher than the guys in finances, because if you can take the company from 1x to 10x, trust me, they will worry about doing the accounting later. They want to grow first. So those are you are asking, what skills are they looking for? That's my baby. I don't care. Nigeria is Nigerian. And we can only do so much about ranting. What can I control? Go and look for those skills and play a long-term game and go and fit into those skills. I was speaking with a lady earlier, sometimes last year. She had invited me to her YouTube channel. I was a bit reluctant, but I was like, why not? Why not? Let's do it. So when I was chatting with her, she used to be a veterinary doctor. She used to earn 75,000 naira. And at the point I was speaking to her, she had increased that salary by 4x by transitioning into tech. So she went from like 75K to over 350K or something like that. Then she now got a job in Canada. What did she do? Skills. She spent 2 years, learned the skill that was in demand, and she transitioned. So as a young person, yes, we empathize, yes, go and get your voter's card, but at the same time, I'm aggressively looking at what is in demand. Now, as a business owner with a team of over 23 people, what else is in demand? Another thing that is currently hot, storytelling. How are we shooting videos, editing, da-da-da-da-da? You can do it so well. Get like 5 startups. Maybe one might not be able to give you the money that you're looking for. Write a nice speech. Go and meet all those startups. Hi, ma'am. I can do 5 TikToks, 6 this. This is my deliverables. My charge is 180K. Instead of them getting a full-time staff to do that, they might listen to you. Look for 5 people willing to pay you that. That's something. So look at the things that are within your control. Now, in this situation, you're not trying to compete with Peter. What's the name of those top videographers that are charging 2 million? No. You just want a little part of that pie, right? And that's what I would do as a young person. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to start early. I'm going to play a long-term game. I like to use a scenario. Let's say I'm an NYSC student. I'm 25. I finished NYSC. My salary is, they're paying me about 80K. The government is giving me 20K. So in total, I'm getting 100K, right? That means I can save or invest about 20,000 naira every month, right? Guess how much that person would have by the time they hit retirement? Please, can you just guess? They're investing 20,000 naira every month, and they're getting 10%. They're doing it from the age of 25, and hopefully they'll retire at 65. Guess how much that person would have? Please, any answer. Wrong answers are allowed. Just guess. How much? Try. Just give it a jab. How much? 15, okay, not bad. One more person try and I will take it. 40, not bad. Another person just try. 15, 50. Guess how much it is? 211 million just because of compounding. So the biggest asset you have as a young person is what? Time. If it is $20, do it. $50, do it. Whatever you can do it. Start stacking it away. You have time. Bill Gates is like one of the richest men on earth, about 89 or so. But guess what he does not have? That time. Time is time. You can't buy it. So start stacking it. So in summary, I'm going to tilt. And people start saying, young people should buy land, though. I'm not saying don't buy land. But if I'm a 21-year-old, I ain't worrying about no piece of land. I'm going to go build my skill. That's what I'm going to go do. Go and build the skills. You buy more land in the future. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's what I'm going to go after. So go and build those skills, right? Start investing early and be aggressive about going what? To the next level. And that's pretty much. And keep a positive mindset. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Like, that is so accurate. You need to upskill yourself, and also increase your income. You know what they say? You can only save as much as you earn. So if you don't earn the money, you can't save it. So yeah, it's always about eyes on the prize. How can I increase my income? That's the mindset that you should always have. Tunji, do you have anything to add to that?
I think she said it all. The long game is amazing. It's and you know the beautiful thing about the long game is that you will have many failures along the way, but stretched over a long period of time, nobody sees those failures. You know, it just looks like, this person has always had it figured out, you know? This person has always had it figured out. There's a young person around me. He ultimately believes I've always known where I was going to be like 15 years ago. He feels I knew it, like I was just planning day 1 and day 2 and day 3 and day 4. I can remember when I met Tosi, I knew I couldn't have been speaking about starting a startup. Absolutely not. But somehow things just align. But you just have to be committed to that goal. And the long game is so beautiful. And you know, what she said about buy land when you're young, forgive me, it's really stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. As in, you appreciate at such an exponential rate that the fees people would offer to give you will be ridiculous. You know, and the money you can make for yourself will also be ridiculous, but you need to become that person of value. I know somebody who, just some couple of months ago, her salary was like maybe 4 or 5x. She was earning ₦1 million before. Like, it's like 5x now or something. And it was just like, and you know how bad it was? They were begging her to take the job.
Yeah.
As in, please. You know, they will go, you know what? What do you want? And that is how much, if you invest in yourself, you become such a person of value that everybody around you values you. So I think she's absolutely spot on that.
I want to quickly add something to what Tunji said. So we had somebody join us 2 years ago. Her name is, okay, let me not call her name, maybe she does not want everybody to know. She doesn't have NYSC, but she reached out to me on LinkedIn, sent me a really nice message, and I could be wrong, but I've noticed that whenever our team members reach out to me themselves, boom, they end up being boom, because it's almost like they know what they want to do. They know the company they want to work for. Like, we've hardly gone wrong. Whenever they reach out themselves, okay, now let me go back. So she hasn't yet done her NYC. She reached out to us. So I said, I was like, you've not done your NYC? She said, yes, but don't worry, I'll deliver it. I said, okay, why not? You know, go through HR. I sent them their email address and everything. And she joined us. And as my instinct was, fantastic, excellent, stellar. So we wanted to outsource our grants, people applying for our grants and opportunities completely. But I was just like, I tested, I said, okay, you know, I want to put it under your, you know, under you, like you take care of it without fail. She really got it. Guess what eventually happened? After 18 months of working with us, guess what? Bloomberg UK poached her. She had never traveled outside of Nigeria before. She does not have NYSC. She came from a middle class or even lower middle class family, and that Bloomberg UK poached her. So Money Africa was a fantastic ground. She went ahead writing the stories, you know, writing the articles, putting in the work, and what happens? That was it. And that's skills. That's what skills does for you. So when you get those opportunities, it might not be your dream pay. Do you get? Girl, I'm not even earning my dream pay yet. Do you understand? But what you want to do, you want to build those skills. So take what is available to you. So wherever you're currently working, take what is available to you. Use the best of it. Position yourself so that you can what? You can springboard to the next level. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Let's hear it. Okay, great. So I wanted to talk about a slightly more, different topic. I think you also kind of hinted at it earlier, and it's the topic of black tax, right? Because I think it's an elephant in the room that people don't talk much about. And lots of young people, that even, I know people that have also increased their income, but then because of that guilt and that dependence, from home, they're not actually able to invest money towards their own future. They end up sending most of their funds back home and then, just continuing that cycle, right? So my question is, how do young people that want to break free of that cycle and like want to start, building wealth for themselves, but also have family, who have raised you. How do they, manage that conundrum or what you want to call it, and still be able to achieve financial independence, or at least still be able to, like pay themselves first and save for their future? What would you advise someone who is in that shoes today?
Okay, this is a very sensitive conversation because you can't really tell the story of a person if you've not, been in those very shoes. I'll be a liar if I said that, I do black tax. I'm going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I don't have the first-hand experience of it. But what we always tell our members is this: you know your parents more than we do, right? There are some family members, when they know how much you earn, what happens? They inflate what they ask of you. You know them better than we do. So in those cases, we're not saying lie, but don't disclose how much you earn. Don't let them know how much, right? Another thing you can also do is remember, think of a jar or a cup. If the cup is empty, can anything happen? You or the person you want to give, everybody, what's going to happen? I'm going to be thirsty. So you always have to ensure that there's something in that cup, and that cup never goes dry. So you know your family more than we do. Are they fair? Are they reasonable? Will they inflate the cost and things like that? Do you want to try maybe not disclosing everything? Something that we could also do is look for how you can empower people in your family so that at the end of the day, you're not the only one carrying the weight. So tell them about tech. Tell them about opportunities. Send them emails. Sit on their neck so that they can grow in skills, so that in the next 2 years, the burden from your own shoulders does what? Reduces. So you're empowering other people as well, so that you are not the only shining star. It's many other people. Also, sometimes people also like the prayers and, like, you want to be, oh my gosh, you are the savior. You also have to be able to divorce that in the sense that you also have your own life to live and things like that. So it's just striking that balance. I don't have a one answer for everything, but apply emotional intelligence and just use some of the things that we've shared with you.
Thank you for that. Do you have any thoughts on black tax and how to manage it?
It's really difficult. It's really, really, really difficult, especially if you come from a family where it's important, or at least they see it as important. So we do pensions, and the traditional African pension fund is children. So they have 6, 7, 8, 9, play Russian roulette and hope that one of them will blow, and take care of them in old age. So when that child now finally blows, you can almost hear a sigh of relief from the parents. And then you're not asking them not to take care of them. But here's the thing. I ultimately believe that it is important to do your bit if you can, but also understand something. Like what Tosi said about the cup. If it's empty, everybody's going to go thirsty. You have a responsibility to yourself, first of all. You have a responsibility to your family that you're carrying forward. That is if you choose to have one. But more importantly, you have a responsibility to yourself. So like we said about investing in yourself, you grow exponentially. If you do not invest in yourself enough to grow exponentially, but you're paying to your family, you don't grow. Your capabilities to earn doesn't grow. The amount you're able to give them reduces. Over time, you're doing all of you a disfavor. So I say it from this perspective. It requires discipline for the good of for the greater good. So you might not be able to give them that 10,000 today. You might just have 2.5. But remember that you are not punishing them by giving them 2.5. You're also looking out for them by giving them 2.5, so that you can use the 7.5 left to invest in yourself, so that in 5 years' time, you can be able to increase that 2.5 to 10K, when you have more. So I think it is a case of discipline and divulging emotion from it. It is not a omomiti, sorry if you can't speak Yoruba. It's a case of you need to do your part for the family, but you also need to do your part for yourself. And that is the most important thing. So as much as you are able to grow is how much you can do for them. So that is the priority. I'm not saying forget them, but know that if you focus on them today, both them, in 5 years' time we'll have nothing. So you need to take care of yourself now.
Thank you for that. And I think I would also add that one thing that I've seen work is that you can also budget your parents, like put them on a budget. I think it works magic, and communicate that to them. So be like, Mom, look, this is how much, in a month, I can give you 20K. And every month, unfailingly, give them that 20K, And so they know that, okay, this month, this is actually how much you can give to them. So it kind of like makes them know that, okay, she's actually thinking about us, right? And that's probably all she can, she can do. So I think when you make it consistent over time, they kind of like start to adjust, their needs to that. But then when it's very, very, very sporadic, that's when they come to you with like, spur of the moment things like, oh, someone's car died, someone's cat hit another cat, and yeah. So if you can put them on a budget and tell them that, look, this is actually how much I can afford to give you in a month, and you have to be dying basically for me to give you more, and they will actually adjust. You'll be shocked. They'll go to someone, to the next person, but they would actually adjust. Yeah. Okay, great. So we will take some questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, just kind of like put your hands up, and there for you. You have any? Okay, great.
Hello everyone. I love your content, Tunji and Tosin. Been following you guys for years, especially when you used to do the program on Classic FM.
Please, let's talk before we go. I don't know why I missed your contact. I don't know. I just saw him and I'm like, oh my God.
Anyway, great to have you guys here. 2023, the markets, the capital markets, everything is just kind of funny now, especially with Nigeria's peculiar dynamic right now. At Africa Next, the financial sessions that we've had, whether audience members or the speakers have said, confidence in banks now is an issue. People, once this thing blows over, people are going to have a tough time putting their money back in banks. My point is, everywhere is a bit funny. Where do you guys think we should put our money investment-wise in 2023? And I know this isn't particularly investment advice, as they always say, but what do you think? Because people who have money, if we make money this year, if we're favored, where should we put our money? Because everywhere just looks funny right now. Even the banks look funny.
Okay, I think all of us should take this question. Chidima also works with a VC, and we can all take this question. Interestingly, at the beginning of 2022, if anyone had told people that cash in your bank account would actually perform better than the S&P 500, they would have said, no ways, right? So I would say caution, yeah. Caution, lean towards the low risk, yes, for now. Also, just have a balanced portfolio. For those that have never been in the stock market, it might be a good time for them to, take a couple of, good value stocks. Again, balance. Let me give you an example. I'm a woman in my 30s. I do not have children and things like that. What does my portfolio look like? About 45% of it. Sorry, thank you. About 40 to 50% of it is leaning towards safety. So when I'm talking about safety, I'm talking about low bonds and, dollar-denominated bonds that are low risk, right? While about 20% of it is in ETFs and stock market and things like that. Again, you've seen my profile. I can take some risk. I don't have dependence and things like that. So for people in general, right, especially for this year, I would lean towards low risk. For those that have never been in the stock market, it's a good time. The stocks are, for good stocks, relatively low, you can position. The biggest mistake that a lot of people take is they're either taking too much risk or too little risk. Also, don't look at 2023 as I want to just invest this year. Look at it in terms of 10 years, so that those dips in the market, those lows will not worry you too much, because what? We're playing a long-term game, and we're playing it over a long period of time. So yeah, so despite what is happening in the stock market, I'm still buying. I plan to be there if God is good and kind to me. I plan to be there for years, so I'm still buying.
Okay, great. So I think for me, it's a bit different because I'm in my 20s, right? And me, I'm thinking about, long-term risks. And for me, I think of it as, I don't need this money in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So how can I get, the best return, that is possible? First for me is not investing in Naira. I'm sorry, I don't invest in Naira. I don't invest in stock. I didn't buy Purple, MTN. It's good, but I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry, because I think for me, it's like, if this investment is not growing faster than how the naira is falling, I'm losing money, period, right? I'm losing, and I don't want to, lose money, right? So I think people need to think about that. Like, I mean, if, let's say, maybe the core of your expenses would be in naira for the foreseeable future, you can buy it. But if you think that, okay, I'll probably like move soon, or like, I want to play in the global scene, you need to like start tracking against the USD. And so if you're investing in naira assets, I think aside like your funds for emergencies, I don't think anything long term should be in naira. Just being honest, right? So again, for me, because I'm thinking more long term, I have time. I think I'm more heavily skewed towards stocks as well, because again, I'm playing the long term game. I know that if the stock market dips every other year, it's not like I don't need the money today, so I'll be fine. And I think when you think about stocks like companies, it makes sense to you. Where it's like, if you've bought a good company, let's say you've bought Coke, for instance, Coke shares. Coke is a solid company, regardless. People will always buy Coke. Or let's say maybe let's say Apple, right? You buy Apple shares. Apple is a solid. Apple will always be here. They will be here regardless. Even when the market sometimes makes their shares come down, because you've bought a solid company, they will be here. So when you think about it, like, okay, am I buying solid companies? Then you don't really care about the ups and downs, in the market. So that's kind of like how I think about it. So I buy like lots of strong tech companies, also some what's it called now? The guys that made money during COVID. Yes, so like big pharma, so just things that that, okay, COVID, whatever COVID is, just people are making money, right? Vaccines would be sold and profit to be made. That's a good company to buy. So I think about that. So I'm really heavily skewed towards stocks, and also because I also work in VC as well. I also do lots of angel investing, because I know that when you read about all the richest people in the world, one thing that they've always done is to start getting equity and ownership from early. I saw a post today that said that I think the CEO of Coke was being paid $25 million annually, but Warren Buffett, who owns only 3% of the company, was getting about $200 million or so in annual dividends, right? So it tells you that the person that takes the biggest bag is the investor, is the owner, is who has equity, right? So for me, it's how can I get equity now in companies? And of course, I'll get bonds, of course, but again, if I do 10 and okay, that sounds like, not if I do 10, that sounds like I'm playing pool, but that's the way VC is, right? If I invest in 10 good companies, one or two kind of would pay off, and then, you get, so I'm thinking long term. I have short term funds, as well, things like Euro bonds and, just other, mostly cash, to be honest. But because I'm young and I have time, I believe I have time, I'm more focused on how can I get the most value out of my money in the next 5 to 10 years. And so it's really stocks, angel investing, yeah, for me.
So my bit is a bit more different. I was here 2007, 2008. So if you think the world is going crazy, it's not. It's not even close to 07, 08. 07, 08, we had people jumping out of buildings in Marina here, because, companies were going bust in one day of the capital market. I think it was after that we had a circuit breaker in the stock market. A circuit breaker is if the market is falling at a certain rate, then the market shuts down to let everybody calm down. It was after that point that we had a circuit breaker in Nigeria, because market was just crashing crazy. Yeah. Nigeria, the circuit breaker, it kicked in a couple of few years ago. So it was at that point we started having a circuit breaker in Nigeria. So the thought is, I've studied history a bit to understand something. Over the last 200 years and before, people who came out richest were people who had land. So the more land you had, the more power you had. So generally, think about it. The Roman Empire had land. Egyptian Empire, 400 or 500 years, had more land. So it was about land, right? About 100 years ago, into the last maybe 50, 30 years, it was about commodities. You had oil, you had, grains. It was about commodities. Now it's really about owning a bit of the internet, you know, the new frontier. So it's really about taking your own piece of it. And I like what you said about, you know, investing in companies. And because it's a very long game, especially if you have time, you invest in a company that has great prospects. You believe in the founder, you believe in the business itself. It will, you know, tell good over time. And because you have bits and pieces here and there, before they become the Coca-Cola and the Apples, because people don't always realize when it becomes Apple, it's too late, right? But there were people who actually invested in Facebook before Facebook was Facebook, right? And some of them, they were like, you know, take my 1K. This is my 1K. Hold it. See the way you even collected it for me. You know, there were people like that. And those people are probably millionaires today, you know, and there are companies around us today that are doing that.
Yeah.
We also, when Flutterwave started, we saw when Paystart started, we saw when PiggyVest started. I mean, there are many businesses like that. So ultimately, from the back of my mind, you want to look at that and, you know, think very long game. If you have some spare cash, put it aside. Do not let the craziness bug you.
Bother you.
The world is like that. Every 8, 9 years, it goes crazy. And then after another 2 years, everybody comes back to normal. And then we go crazy again. And then we come back to normal. That's the way we are. We've been like that for centuries.
I just want to quickly touch on something. For you see how interesting it has been. Now, she wants to do angel VCs, which is really awesome. I'm talking about, you know, a portion of it in low risk, some stocks really because there are really good stocks out there. He's talking about land, about commodity and all of that. So I think the beautiful thing about investing is, I mean, do something quickly. Go look at the top 5 richest people in the world. Guess what? The owner of Zara, somewhere there, okay, maybe top 10. Somebody is in fashion, somebody is in tech, somebody is in oil. The fact is this, learn about it, and then you can go your own route. Somebody is killing it in real estate. Do you understand? So there's no one way. So just get your own knowledge, and then, you know, you'll be able to navigate it.
Thank you for that. Did I answer the question? Okay, okay, question there.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Two, actually.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
It's an
She's like,
interesting session.
don't pass me by, please.
So I want to ask her, when she did the maths about financial independence.
Who is this? Oh, myself? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
So you said to multiply the value in dollar by 12 by 25. I want to know why you did 25. Why we multiply by 25?
25
5
years,
Oh,
yes.
okay. And then for him, he said something about, you know, he likes to live simple, you know. He probably won't own a loft in Ikoyi. I'm kind of like that. I really like to keep things really simple. But then it's so easy that you can slip into mediocrity. And then, you know, just how do you avoid that?
Okay, now, guys, mediocrity is very subjective. Is this a safe space? Okay, we're on Instagram Live. So, okay. So we got into this VC sometimes last year, and they took us to New York. It was upstate, and we really went for this really nice session. They brought in a therapist, and it was I did not realize I allowed myself to share so much. Guys, I strongly recommend therapy if you can afford it, or if you know friends that, trust me, see, you have to be very careful because you keep chasing and chasing and chasing, and then when does it end, right? So that thing that some people might call mediocrity could really just really be them for real, being okay by it, and it is absolutely fine, right? If you speak to a lot of your entrepreneur friends, you don't want to know the demons that they are battling. Sometimes they are not sleeping. Do you get? It's like you now start asking yourself that why exactly? So we just have to be very careful, you know, that we strike that balance, right? So there's nothing wrong with aspiring. I mean, we got into Stanford Seed last year, and we were at the seminar in Nairobi in January, and one of the representatives came to our company and just basically helping us set goals, and they were asking us about our big goals, and I saw how we really wrote all these really big goals, which is really great, but also don't sacrifice your mental health for those big things. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You just have to be very careful, right? And also get an accountability partner so that when you're going cuckoo, somebody can, you know, pull you back, and just that balance that we just always have to just sort of strive. So mediocrity is really subjective. Are you happy? Does it give you joy? If yes, why not? So yeah.
But I must say this. I'm a very tenacious person. I'm obsessive. But the reason why I'm obsessive is because I need to get to that place I said. So you see that picture I painted? It costs money. I know how much it costs. I'm obsessive to get to that point. Once I get to that point, I know that I have the money, I can ease off. So I'm obsessive. I'm not sleeping. Like you said, I'm not sleeping. I'm actually very tense right now. We're trying to release a product. It's not been, it's difficult. The industry doesn't want us to do it. We're pushing against the grain. I am pushing. There's nothing about mediocrity around me, but I am clear on where I'm going to. So don't be confused when you see me get there and everybody's like, okay, now he's about to go and do the next one. I say, I'm going to the farm. Don't be confused. I have gotten to where I'm going to. You guys can continue. So my obsessiveness is about where I'm going to. It's really about focus, clear focus on where I'm going to. Nothing else is distracting me, but I know that this is all I need. I don't need anything else after it.
Okay, any more questions? 1, 2, okay, we have just about 5 minutes more, so maybe we take everything. Yes, please give them. Here. Take everything and then we take it. I think it's just 2 people, right? 1.
I think it's just
Oh, yeah, like we're just talking. You guys do not say stop.
okay.
All right.
Hi guys.
Okay, quickly.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to get is, we all know how Nigeria is at the moment,
Yeah.
and unemployment and all of that crisis. So, but then I've heard a couple of what you guys have said about upskill and all of that. For me, I already know what I want to do, so I shouldn't just. But then again, I've had some couple of people come to me and say, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to upskill. I'm trying to get the skill. But then they go through different routes, try different things, and they still come back and say, I'm tired. I don't know how to go about this. So I really don't know how to explain to them that, okay, this is how you should do it. Because me, I already know what I want to do, and I know how to get to where I want to get to. So, but I wanted to ask, is there like a metric that you guys have, or something, to actually help them upskill, in case I get asked most of the time? Just say, okay,
I strongly recommend communities. See, I'm not trying to bring my Christian heart, but I know everybody now is talking about communities. When we go back into the Bible, like they've always been very aggressive about togetherness, brother, brethren, and all of that. It works like crazy. So over there to December, I picked up like 6 extra kgs, and I wanted to, maybe trim a couple of it. And I've been trying on my own, and I keep slipping back. Guess what? I joined a fitness group. We all registered our goal at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the month, somebody would drop it. I just finished cycling. Another person has dropped it. I just finished tennis. Do you want to slack? Lie. It's like, quickly, I wear my tights and my t-shirt. I'm going to count my steps because I also want to drop something in that group. So you're tapping off other people's energy. The truth is there are days you don't want to go alone. And in those days you don't want to go alone, what do you need? A community. So go and look for a circle of people who are trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve and hold their hand so that you guys do what? You sail that boat together. So that's it. I strongly, huge, mad advocate for communities. Go and look for them and then join them.
And in the last, there are some people that are not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So just leave them.
Leave them and just keep going, please. Okay.
Thanks a lot. So, as a green on in finance, anything finance, I don't know anything. So I was hoping when I come here, I'll get to know where do you even start if you want to go into investment. You made mention of VC a lot, and I'm just like, what are they talking about? I really want to know, how do I even create a portfolio for myself? Is it something I can start up myself? You made mention of how when cryptocurrency started, you didn't know it's something you can do for yourself, that you could have downloaded an app. So in this case, do I need to maybe download one app now or read up something? What is the first step to take in the right path to investment? I use Piggyvest, and sometimes you will see the investment part of it. Everything is sold out, every time. That's for someone like me that doesn't even understand investment. So if I can't get it from that easy platform, which other platforms are there for those of us that know nothing about investment? At what point should we consult a professional? And how do we identify the new potential big shots that we can invest in that will blow to an apple tomorrow?
All right, I love that. I'm going to take the first two, then maybe somebody else can take the last one. So, I mean, that's why we built Money Africa, basically for people that are asking themselves, where do I start from? The number one place I want you to start from is financial literacy. Just basically, you saw how when we're talking about what we're investing in, and like the three of us had like three different, ways to go about it. So, number one, education. Education is very, very key. When people come to our DM, Tosin, I have 400K, I want to invest for the next 6 months. They just want to do it now, now, now. And I always say to them, wait, pause. Why am I saying that? I want us to have, when you can see what a destination looks like, it's easier for you to stay on that journey. Imagine you're getting into a car and you're driving. You don't know where you're going. You just, anywhere looks attractive, right? And that's why we push education, because you can paint a destination for yourself, then it's easier for you to get there. So where do we start from? Financial literacy. Join, I mean, I'm not trying to just plug Money Africa, but that's what we do. We educate from the rudiments, things like mindset. Mindset is very key. Mindset sort of changes how you think about money. You start seeing it as a friend. Based on research, by the age of 7, your mindset about money has been formed. So if your parents were not intentional, which is quite a number of us, right? We're not intentional about indoctrinating us, we would have to spend our 20s and our 30s on learning and learning new things. Mindset is very key. So instead of just rushing into it, because let me tell you what happened. I'm not going to call the name of the company, but we spoke at one of the multinationals. These people earn nothing less than ₦1 million per month. But guess what? They start investing at the beginning of the year. When they get to 30 December, what happens? They set it on fire. So saving is actually not the problem. People know how to save. How many people can pay their rent with 1 month's salary? How many people can buy cars with 1 month's salary? But aren't you seeing everybody on the streets of Lagos? We are living in a house, so definitely you paid rent. You are driving a car, so definitely you bought that car. People know how to save for goals. They will save and pay rent. They will save and buy a house. My question to you is, can you invest long term? And that's where financial literacy comes in. It's like building a house. If you don't have a destination, what's going to happen? You will set block, set block, set block, but you will never get to that roofing. What happens? You will crash it and you start again. And that's what a lot of people do. So they'll build it up. What happens? Something happens, and then they crash it. They start from bottom. So imagine think of a builder that is doing that every time. What's going to happen? Fatigue will enter, and then you will just not be able to complete that house. So sorry, they set time up. So in summary, I want you to first go after the education, because we want to play a long-term game. We want to paint what a destination looks like, and we want to be able to stay in it in the long run. That's number one. Then number two, I want you to also go back to your past 3 months' expenses and just see, where's my money going to, right? Because some people, what they have is a spending problem. Some people, they have earning problem. That is, they don't earn enough. Some people, they have both. We need to be able to identify what bracket you fall on. And then as time goes on, we start layering all the, low risk stocks, and then it's a journey. There's no rush. We'll just, get it right. But yeah.
Thank you so much. With that, we have come to the end. If you have any more questions, you can just, ask us when we come down. But thank you so much for sitting through this, and we hope this was valuable. Thank you, Tunji. Thank you, Tosin, as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can everybody come on stage? Let's take a group picture, please. Let's go. Come on stage, come on stage. Okay, let's do this. Okay.
No, 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 no. Oh, yeah. I'm in chains, you're in chains too. Our uniforms and you are uniforms too. I'm a prisoner, you're a prisoner too, Mr. Jailer.